Welcome to the Hill Country Nation Sports Wrap-Up Show on a Monday evening. Is that better?
Yes. I swear, I got to deal with you and technology on Friday, my parents on Sunday with their technology. I'm like, oh my gosh, guys, take a YouTube class.
Actually, if we need to talk about Friday, everybody's asking me, what is Eagly A? What is Eagly A on the pregame?
Listen,
Eagly A.
Listen, okay. This is us. Okay. Do we get to the stadium? We hook everything. We gotta go. And I'm like, I'm over here running and texting at the same time. Are you ready? Oh my God. Seriously. We gotta
go, baby. You gotta go.
2 hours for kickoff.
No whining, no crying. What a game we had though Friday night. Got another big one coming up Thursday too.
Do we?
Yeah.
Does that mean we're doing two?
We're gonna try to do two.
Oh,
we got the Brentwood Bears at the Bernie Geneva Eagles going to be our game of the week on Thursday, and then we've got to just make sure we do our part so we can bring up two for the second one on Friday.
Man, I'm getting excited. This is the time. I mean, football season's already halfway over. It's hard to believe for high school football unless playoffs continue and stuff like that. But we're already in, like, half these teams have already had their bye. Some teams have already started district, and we're hitting that nitty gritty season where practices really do matter, and preseason, what you learned in the pre-district schedule. This is the time I love, because you can throw records out the books. An 0-5 team can go undefeated in district. An undefeated team can lose all. Like, it's just this is where Texas high school football really matters. And I can't wait to start calling some of these games.
Absolutely. And I tell you one game that we're just going to be looking forward to coming up and everything, and we'll see where we're at. But we are looking forward to trying to hopefully get a Medina Bobcat game of the week at some point. But you know what? This guy right here, Coach Coley, man, he has been a workhorse when it comes to the Medina Bobcats. Medina Bobcats years ago being 11-man, all of a sudden went 6-man. Coach Coley comes in and boom, next thing you know, we're winning games. Back-to-back district champs, looking to be three-time, what do you call it? Three-peat. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you inviting me on.
Coach, I mean, it's been one of those kind of seasons. I mean, from the very beginning, the first practice, when summer was ending, you're getting the practice ready to go, ready for season and everything. What have you learned about your team since the first day of practice up to this point?
Well, I had a lot of freshmen, and what I've learned about them is some of those kids can play now and are not going to do anything but get better as they get older. So my starting quarterback is a freshman. He's 5'2", weighs 107, and he's thrown 25 touchdown passes already. So he's a player, and he's going to be better and better and better.
Name that quarterback.
Do what?
Name that quarterback.
Davis Peterson.
Yes. When he stepped on the football field, what was it like for you to say, that's going to be my guy?
Well, I actually didn't start him till halftime of the first game. I had another young man in there, and we were struggling, so I made the change. I put that starting quarterback at a running back spot, which he's more suited to, and let that freshman go. And he threw 3 touchdown passes that second half, and played very well. Showed a lot of leadership and courage, and so he's earned the spot, and he's kept it.
Yeah, Coach, you talk about that first. I'm going to piggyback off JR's question a little bit. You lose to Rochelle the first game of the season. You give up over 80 points in that game, which in 6-man football is equivalent to maybe 40 points. Let's just call it what it is. But ever since then, your defense has stepped up. I mean, you 45'd everybody since then, scoring over 60 points a game, and majority of it except for last week, but you still got 49. Just talk about how your defense is playing throughout since that first game against Rochelle.
Well, of course, defense is what wins championships. that's that old cliche, but it's true. Offense wins game, defense wins championships, and our defense is playing very well. Bryce Sorble is our defense coordinator. He puts together a great game plan every week. The kids buy into it. We make adjustments on the fly when we need to, and they're just playing very, very well. And that makes it easy for the offense to do their thing when we've got a good backstop behind us.
Yeah, what is it like to have a Coach Sorbo coming from Comfort, known as the Comeback Cats? They had a defense back in the day with Coach Wigginton and just the things that he has learned in college and stuff. What's it like to have him? Because right now he's going on a three-peat, but like you said, it's because defense wins championships.
That's exactly right. What's unusual about Sorbo is he's really an offensive guy. He always played offense. He was an outstanding receiver at Comfort, and coaching defense the last 3 years has kind of been new to him. And he told me just recently that he's starting to like defense. I didn't know that he was struggling with it, but he really likes it. He likes the game planning part of it, figuring out how to stop people, and just doing a great job. The kids really
like defense, though. I mean, he had a scoop 6 against Skidmore Tynan back in the day, 45 yards. I'll never forget that. That was the game of the week, and he didn't like defense then.
Well, apparently not. But he's starting to like it now. Of course, he's had a lot of success at it. The last couple of years, we've been very strong on the defensive side of the ball, and it's mainly because of him. He game plans. He studies film. He comes up with some good things to stop people's best plays, and sometimes he gets a little bit into the game and realizes, hey, this is not going to work, and he just changes it on the spot.
Hey, man, I was an offensive player too. I had to play both sides of the ball. I didn't like defense. I got more nervous on defense. I hated defense. But then I got that one good hit. I'm like, yes. I love defense since then. But
well, you guys were probably skill guys. See, yeah. I was always a lineman, and so if you're an offensive lineman, you're just anonymous. But if you're a defensive lineman and make a tackle, you get your name called. And so those old linemen like to play defense and not so much offense.
Yeah. I was a diva on both positions, receiver and cornerback. So I was a diva on both sides of the ball. So.
Yeah, you got your name called a lot.
I mean, I don't want to brag, but yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Not Trey.
That's just the way it is.
Oh, man. Coach, we're already midway through the season. District starting up this week against Prairie Lee and everything. What's one position or group that you've seen struggle kind of at the beginning of the year, but then improve throughout the year, and now you're not really too worried about it?
Well, I lost two good receivers, and I always send my plays in with receivers, so I've got two new guys playing my Z receiver spot, and they're taking the plays in, and that's always a worry that the play will actually get to the huddle, what I call, and they're been very well. Those two guys, every other play, and then I've got a returning starter at my ex receiver. He played he was all district and all region player last year, Branson Wickham, and so I've been very pleased with those two new guys playing Z.
Coach, a lot of talk and everything is that you could really be somewhere doing a 11-man school and doing well as well. What keeps you being a coach for 6-man?
Well, I don't know. I've been a 6-man coach since 2003, and the 11-man game may have passed me by. I don't know. I would probably run some wing tee and those kinds of things if I was an 11-man coach. And And when I say that to the young guys now, they just kind of laugh or wonder what's the wing T. And so I don't know. I still think that I know what's going on a little bit in 11 man, but 6 man is where I am, and I'm just trying to do the best I can here.
I mean, you'd be surprised how many high varsity, like 11 man, actually run the wing T now. Like it's making a little comeback now. Like I noticed a lot of teams doing that wing T offense again, and I'm like, what is this? Because I grew up in the spread offense, so it's like I get where you're coming from, Coach.
Well,
go ahead.
My oldest son coaches in Tomball, and they run a spread shotgun offense. And just watching some of his games, it just seems like to me that 11-man teams, they all run the same thing. And so if you went in there with a wing T scheme, that'd be something to have to prepare for different once a year maybe. And so I think it'd have a chance to be successful.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. It's hard to guard against, I'll tell you that. But Coach, talk about preparing against like a wing T and stuff like that. But I want to know, like 6-man football, you can't line up a JV versus your varsity in practice. Just talk about a little bit how how you go along with practice without going against an offense or defense when you're trying to prepare for your opponent the following week.
Well, some days are better than others. Today at practice, we had 11 kids, and so one of our coaches had to play scout team quarterback. And all of my assistants are fairly young, so it doesn't faze them a lot to do that. But defensively, they can't hit the coach. Can't. So you miss out on a lot of things that you could do if you had a scout team player in there that you could tackle or block or whatever. We do individual offensive and defensive drills each day, and then we do team offensive and defensive drills each day. And from scouting our opponent, we prepare a notebook with plays in it. So we'll run those plays at the defense, first team and second team. And of course, when you just have a few guys, your scout team offense is your second team defense, and vice versa. And so everybody goes every time. There's no rest for anybody. And you just kind of do the best you can do. And sometimes you have to stop and explain things almost like you're on the chalkboard with them, because your scout team's unable to perform someone else's offensive scheme because it's something that's really different from what we're doing, ourselves.
Coach, is it easier or harder to have a trick play when it comes to 6-man football? I mean, a lot of 11-man, they'll have like a trick play, 1 or 2 up their sleeve for the just in case. But in 6-man, is it easier or harder, or maybe not so much?
Well, I don't know that it's easier or harder. Sometimes, if you're going to run a trick play, you're trying to set it up. And if it's in your scheme, if it's just a continuation of your scheme, becomes a trick play, then it's easier to put on. If it's something totally different from what you're trying to do anyway, then the other team's not going to buy into it, and your kids aren't going to buy into it because it doesn't make sense. We put on a trick play against one of our opponents a couple of years ago, and I'm the only one that believed it would work. Well, I knew it would work because it had been done to me several years ago, and so we put it on. We scored a touchdown, and the kid that scored a touchdown came to me on the sideline and said, "I never believed it would work, Coach. I never believed it would work, but it did." And sometimes I don't think any of my assistants believed it would work either. They thought I was crazy. We worked on it in practice, but when I actually called it in a game, they were pretty leery. But we scored on it. We've run it twice in the last couple of years and have scored both times. So
nice.
I'm not going to tell you what it is, though.
I don't know. I can see it in Trey's eyes. He was ready to ask.
It was. But every good coach doesn't give away their secrets because the coach will be watching. Because we're all over South Texas, so you don't know who's going to be watching. So I respect
You
that.
never know.
That's right.
Coach, being 6-man, even like in little small schools like 2A and stuff like that, but especially 6-man where you get no breaks and everything like that. Just talk about how your players were conditioned this summer through last Friday, because it feels like this summer never wanted to end for whatever reason that was. Just talk about how great a condition they are today going into district, and how happy are you it's going to be like 65 degrees Friday night?
Well, I'm definitely glad that the temperature is going to be a little lower. There's that old saying about playing yourself into shape, but sometimes in 6-man that doesn't happen because of the mercy rule.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned that our last 5 games have all finished early, and so we missed out on that third and fourth quarter conditioning at times, and in game situations are quality conditioning, and when you're over at halftime, you miss out on that. So we have to work extra hard at practice. We do what we call whistle drills, and they hate them, but they know when we get into a game that goes full that they're going to need that conditioning, and sometimes they ask to do a little bit extra. That's hard to believe, but they'll say we need to do more whistle drills. The seniors will come to me and think they're not in good enough shape, and we need to do more, and so we do.
Before JR asks another question, you kind of answered my question, but I was going to, as a coach, are you you're great, you're getting the win with 45. Are you a little worried when you get in play the tougher teams like a Lakey in your district or in the playoffs, that when you have to go 4 quarters, the conditioning is not going to be there? I know you say you're doing whistle drills, but is there a little concern in the back of your head, like, oh crap, I hope we're in condition?
Yes, that's always a concern, and it's kind of a catch-22. You want to get the games over as quickly as you can, because there's always that chance of injury, late in the game. But you also need the work, and so, for instance, last Friday we only played a half, and we only ran 25 offensive plays.
Oh wow!
And that's all there was, and so we didn't get a lot of work in. We got a win, and we played great defense because we shut them out. But offensively, we didn't get a lot of work in, and so it's. And I don't know what the solution is. You don't want to go a full game if you don't have to, but it hurts your conditioning to finish early. It sure does.
Coach, we got a couple of questions. One's from Kerry Harmon. What do you love most about coaching?
The kids. I'm 71, so they all look at me like a grandfather, and you get close to them, they get close to you, and that's the best thing about coaching is the kids.
Was that your question too, JR? I mean, I didn't want to. I kind of asked back to back.
I mean, I will go and everything. When it comes to coaching, Coach, you've seen throughout the years different styles of coaching. You said you've been, coaching 6-man since, you said 2003.
Yes.
So 20 years of coach. So who did you grow up with when it comes to coaching, and who your mentors, who was it that inspired you to, I'm going to be a coach? And then who have you leaned on, throughout your years, to ask questions and things like that?
Well, I think when I started playing football when I was 7 or 8 years old in Little League, but when I got to junior high, I started to really admire my coaches. At junior high and high school, the way I was treated by them, made me want to be like them. And I think somewhere in there, 7th, 8th grade, 9th grade, I decided I was going to coach, and didn't ever waver from that. Did whatever I had to do, and got my degree and my master's degree, and just kept coaching. I learned a lot from coaches that I worked for. I worked for a lot of good head coaches, and of course that was all 11 man. And but I learned organization and drills, and I learned how to treat people, how to treat kids, and I think that's the most important thing. I think the schemes come and go, and anybody can learn X's and O's, but learning how to treat kids and how to motivate kids and how to treat people is the most important thing, and it's also the hardest thing to learn.
Yeah. Dang it. The question skipped my mind. It did. Man, Coach, a lot of I've asked this question to a lot, and I'm taking a survey, and I really want to know what people, because I've had a lot of parents come to me like, I'm not having my kid play football and stuff like that. Just talk about the advantages there are to playing football and why it's more safer than playing like basketball, baseball, or like what's the benefit of a kid playing football today instead of risking injury and stuff like that?
Well, football teaches discipline. Football teaches you to overcome the hard road. It's not easy. Coaches always say if it was easy, everybody would do it. And I think football, because of bumps and bruises and the heat in August and September and the physicality of it, makes it a good thing to make a man out of a young man. And I think if you talk to kids, the hard part of it was what they enjoy the best. That's what they remember the best. Yeah, I remember when Coach so-and-so made us do this and made us do that. And it's the hard stuff that everybody remembers. It's not the day everybody got popsicles or everything. It's the day that, you went home with your tongue dragging and you couldn't even push the clutch in on your truck because your leg was shaking so much. And that's what everybody remembers. And that's what I remember. And so, yeah, I think it just builds character.
Coach, what you were coaching other places, but all of a sudden the Medina job comes open and you get that call. What was it like to get that call from Medina to say, hey, I'm going to, to be the head coach for the Medina Bobcats? And then what has it been like? I mean, so far since being in Medina that year?
Well, I interviewed for the Medina job at a Whataburger
there you go.
in Abilene, Texas. The interim superintendent had called me and wanted me to interview, and he was on a trip, and so he kind of went out of his way of 50 miles or so to come through Abilene, and he wanted to know if there was a landmark close to where I live that he could find, and I told him there was a Whataburger a couple blocks from where I lived, and so we set up a time, and I went and interviewed at Whataburger, and then he called me about 10 days later and offered me the job. So it was really interesting. I moved to Medina, and my wife stayed in Abilene for another year trying to sell our house. And so we had that weekend relationship. And then after a year, she moved down here. And my son, who's coaching in Tomball now, he was coaching at Bernie Champion. Oh. And so one reason that Medina was attractive, and I live in Kerrville, so I'm close to Bernie, so I got to see him and my grandkids a lot, and then he upped and moved to Tomball a couple of years ago. So
Well, you say you live in Kerrville. Which road do you take? Do you take Bandera Highway to 2828, or you do that windy road on 16?
Well, most of the time I go 2828. Occasionally, well, like this summer, they were working on 2828, and it was a one-lane road every morning, and so I'd go over the mountain, over and back. I did that for about 6 weeks, and that kind of gets old too. But really, time-wise, it's about the same. It's farther going 2828, but the mountain slows you down quite a bit, so it's about the same time, even though it's farther.
Yeah, going 15 miles an hour around the curve, and sometimes 5, and then you get stuck behind a truck, and it's like, oh my gosh, I'll take that extra 2 miles down 2828.
Yeah, sometimes you get stuck behind some kind of RV, and they're struggling to get up and down the hills. Yeah,
makes you want to help.
I know how that is.
Coach, just talk about, like, we've been talking a lot about Medina. Medina loves you, apparently. I mean, I know they do. Not apparently. They should love you. You're a great coach and everything, what you've done for Medina Bobcat. Just talk about the community of Medina and the way they support not only on home games, but also away games, and how they pack the stands and support your kids.
It's a good place to coach. And I think it's a good place for people to raise their children. And the community is very supportive, not only of football, but they support everything. And we have an outstanding ag program. We have good one-act play and FCCLA stuff and all sports: baseball, softball, track, tennis, golf, volleyball, cross country. Everything is good. It's well supported, and the people here are good. They're good people, good country folks.
Yeah.
Question comes from AJ Stern. It's what do you love most about coaching in Medina?
Well, I think it's the kids. Last year it was heartbreaking for us to get beat by Jonesboro in the second round by 6 points, and I was pretty down. But the kids rallied around me and picked me up and made me feel like everything was going to be okay. And so here I am back again, and we're 5-1. And so I think the kids is what keeps me coming back, and the kids is the best part of the community.
Oh man, I remember that Jonesboro game. I'm not going to say anything, but that was a heartbreaking, the way it ended and stuff like that. I can understand how heartbreaking that was for as a head coach.
Yeah, and being that as our game of the week, we saw things and stuff, but it's like one of them things, but after that interview, Coach, I mean, we can see that, but at the same time, I mean, you're geared up, ready just to kind of take it on the chin and get up and let's go.
Well, I have been knocked down a few times, and just get back up, get back on that horse, and keep going is the best way, I think, in life. Not just losing a football game, but in everything, just keep on keeping on. And so that's what I try to do, and the kids, I think, have bought into that as well.
Yeah. Shifting gears a little bit, it is realignment year in February. Can you give me and JR any public insight if there's going to be a new teams you're going to play, or district-wise? Can you give us any insight? No one's watching.
Well, all I have is rumor, but McDade, I think, is probably going to go up to 2A. They'll be playing 11-man. The rumor that I've heard is their number is pretty high. It's like 136, something like that. So they're not even very close. I think Lakey is on the bubble. And there's more than one way that you can turn your count in. So I don't know if they're going to go from one of the largest 6-man schools to one of the smallest 11-man or not. I just don't know how that's going to work out. But that's a rumor as well, that they may go 11-man again. And then Runge, down southeast, they're already playing a renegade 6-man schedule, and there's a possibility they could be in our district. If we lose McDade and maybe if we lose Lakey, maybe we'll pick up Runge. If we don't, they've got to go toward High Island and by Galveston and all that. So I don't know. That's another just rumor too, but that's a possibility. And in the past, when I first came here, we were in with Eden, and now Menard has dropped down to 6-man, so we could go that way. Eden, Menard, Paint Rock was in our district, but I think they're Division II now, and Rochelle was in our district, but they're Division II now. So I don't know. Runge is the most reliable rumor that I think we've heard.
Coach, I know a few years ago you played a team, Blum, and you met halfway, which was great because they ended up winning that state championship. But, I mean, they didn't beat Medina by much at all. But then you also got, Cherokee and those guys. I mean, is it easier to maybe go that way with, Cherokee or Comanche and those places or staying with Runge and kind of play down south a little more? Either way, it's a trip.
Yeah, well, I think Cherokee is a Division II school, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
And so they wouldn't be in our district. The last time
free district and things like that.
We opened up with them a couple years ago. Cherokee came to our place, and I think we beat them. Not too bad, but we beat them pretty good, but they've gotten a lot better since then. And Zach White, the head coach there, has them really, really rolling at Cherokee. So that would be a good contest for us if we could work that out again. And Rochelle, we hope to keep them on our schedule as well. Good early tests for us. One of our problems is the people that are all close to us physically are in our district. Mm-hmm. And so we have to go, meet somebody like Blum at Marble Falls, or we've played in Hyco, met St. Joe in Hyco, and St. Joe is a long ways away, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do. This year we scrambled to find some games. We ended up losing a second week opponent, and looked like we weren't going to get to play anybody at all. And then Laredo St. Augustine called because they knew we were looking, and they ended up coming to our place and playing. And so I guess sometimes you're only going to have 8 or 9 games unless you get fortunate. Somebody's looking and you're looking.
I do have a follow-up with that. Just like, what about teams like, you play OLH, but what about like Fredericksburg Heritage or Gloria Deo, Castle Hills? I know they're private schools and not UIL, but I mean, they're usually kind of going deep down in those playoffs as well down the road.
Well, in the early years when I was here, we played Fredericksburg Heritage every year. And there were 3 years in there when I didn't coach. And during that time, Medina quit playing Heritage, and I don't really know why. I know Coach Shipman pretty well, and we get along good, so that's a possibility of us getting back together again. Castle Hills, we've tried to set something up with them before, and it just never worked out. The week they were open, we weren't, and the week we were open, they weren't. But there's a lot of good private school teams out there. We scrimmage at San Marcos Academy and Austin Hill Country and Cedar Park Summit. All those people, we scrimmage them, and haven't been able to work games out yet.
Okay, I'll go ahead and ask this one because Jared's going to steal it. Coach, there's been a lot of rule changes and everything like that, like going to college, NFL, and now it's even a high school level. What is one rule that the UIL should look at that you think should be changed and like just irritates you that that's a rule that should be a rule?
Well, I just can't think of one off the top of my head that I think ought to be changed. I can say this. I think that within the next 4 to 5 years, there won't be any blocking below the waist at all.
Mm-hmm.
You know, now they've outlawed this and outlawed that, and I think pretty soon it'll just be not allowed at all. No blocking below the waist in any circumstance at all. And I don't think we're very far away from that. And that might be a good thing. You know, it kind of hurts your smaller kids because they survive by taking the big guy's legs out. But you know, kids will adjust and coaches will adjust when they change the rule, and we'll just keep on keeping on.
All right, Coach. So it is Friday or Thursday, depending on what game, you know, what day you're playing. It's getting about lunchtime. Your tummy's getting a little bit of hungry and a little grumbly and everything. Do you have a go-to meal or a snack or some kind of a drink, you know, not those kind of drinks, but a good drink, you know, that you just have to have every game day?
So when I was coaching at Katy, my wife made me a taco salad. And I was a defense coordinator at Katy, and we won our first game 10-0, had a shutout. So the next week she made taco salad. And to make a long story short, we went 10-0 at Katy that year, and I had taco salad every game day. And so we pretty much do that now. I take my lunch, but it's going to be taco salad. I have to put it together and put it in the microwave. But we played a playoff game when I was coaching at New Caney, and we were playing at noon at Sam Houston State, and we were going to leave about 9 o'clock. And about 8:30, she came up to my office with taco salad for breakfast. And so taco salad is the go-to meal. That's a good question.
There you go.
My wife's over here shaking her head. That is a good meal.
Yeah.
Breakfast or lunch or dinner.
Coach, man, how do I want to put this? Okay, so who you've been coaching for a while. You like you told us your age and everything like that, but you look a lot better than I do, and I'm age 37, and you're moving a lot better. I don't know how the older generation does it, but hey, y'all are more equipped than I am. I'm lazy and a bum, but whatever. Just talk like who's been the most like inspirational person in your life that not only in coaching, but like made you the man, the coach, the father figure, the grandpa, the figure in your life, the man who you are today.
I think probably my dad. My dad died when he was 65 of leukemia, which was the first year I was a head coach. But all my life growing up, I learned a work ethic from him. He wasn't a whiner. He wasn't a shirker. He was a laborer. He wasn't a educated man, but he unloaded railroad cars at a copper refinery, and he worked hard and he worked long. And if he had to do something extra to feed his family, he'd get a second job on weekends or whatever he needed to do. And I think I learned work ethic from him.
That is awesome, Coach. I mean, yeah, because a lot of things you don't see today is that work ethic, but a lot of kids will get that from the coaches and stuff like that. So with that, I mean, when it comes to your coaches and work ethic and things like that, you can give a shout out to your coaches and stuff, but what does it mean to have the coaches that you have there in Medina to help you to be a better coach, but also to kind of take that burden off of you for some of the other things that may be going on in kids' life that maybe they can help out with?
Well, I have a great staff. I have 3 coaches. I have Coach Sorble, Coach Harlow, and Coach Pace, and they've been with me for I guess about 3 years, and they all are knowledgeable. They all work hard. When they have a question about something, something that I'm doing, most of them have an 11-man background, and so even after 2 or 3 years, I'll come up with something they think is really weird, really strange that I've picked up along the way. And so they're willing to learn, they're willing to buy into it. They come early, they stay late, they work hard, and they're not afraid to ask questions. And lots of times they point out something to me that, when I really look at it, I think, well, this is pretty stupid. Why am I doing this? And so we have a good relationship. All 4 of us get along well, and we kid and joke, and we work hard. And when it's time to get serious, we get serious. And I also appreciate the way they talk to the kids. Kids relate to them differently than they do me, because they're not a whole lot older than those kids, 8 years maybe instead of 58 years. So that's a big difference, and it's a big thing to have a good staff like I do, and I appreciate all of them. They're good guys.
Well, Coach, we appreciate you being on. We got time for a couple more questions, and yeah, we got to call it a night. Otherwise, we'd be here all night, because I would love talking to you. I mean, I still got 50 billion more questions I want to ask so bad, but time saying we got to. Yeah, so we'll get a couple more questions. Trey, I'll leave the first one with you.
And there's 4 of them I want to ask. Hold on. Okay, you talked about your coaches and how you have a great coaching staff and everything, but I want to know how great your wife is, and you talked a little bit about her. But I just talk about being a coach's wife and how supportive she is, and also, does she like you being gone all throughout the day and on Saturday, so she has a house to herself?
Well, now that I don't know. She probably wouldn't admit to that, but we've been married 42 years.
Awesome.
And I was already coaching when we started dating, so she knew what the hours were going to be like before we ever talked marriage. She knew what when I was going to leave the house, when I was going to get home, and what weekends were like. And she's just a great coach's wife. Her dad was a basketball coach, and so she had a little bit of it. But the little school that she attended, they didn't play football, so she didn't really understand about all the hours and all that kind of stuff. But she has bought into it. We have 2 sons and 2 daughters, and both the sons were football players. Both of them were quarterbacks, as a matter of fact. And she once told me the worst thing anybody could be was the head coach's wife and the quarterback's mother at the same time. And she said she heard a lot of stuff in the stands about the coach and about the quarterback, but she survived through all of that. And I think that what you alluded to, she's kind of glad at times when I'm not around and she gets to be by herself. So,
well, Coach, again, thank you so much for being on our show here tonight, and really, really appreciate it, and love all the great things that are happening in Medina. Got a lot of fan support from there, and we could just tell going through Medina, it's blue and gold, go Medina. The town's painted, flags everywhere. Even going through Kerrville and other towns, and even saw Medina in San Antonio one day. I just thought that was neat. So, but with all that, Coach, what makes Coach Mark Coley Mark Coley?
I don't know. That's a good question. If you ever find the answer out to that, you need to give me a shout and let me know, because I don't know. I just I love the game of football. I love the kids, and I love Friday nights. I when I was coaching at 5A school, I tried to give up the play calling duties to one of my coordinators, and that lasted about 2 weeks. I couldn't stand around with my hands in my pockets watching the game. I might as well, be up in the stands. And so I made myself an assistant offensive line coach and started calling plays again. And I don't think I could ever give that up.
Awesome.
Coach, thank you so much. We really appreciate you being on our show here tonight. And yeah, we're just looking forward to seeing you again in person. And one day we're just going to have to stop at one of your favorite restaurants either in Kerrville or in Medina and have some coffee and maybe some buttermilk pie if we can ever find it, because I can't find buttermilk pie unless you make it anymore.
Well, I haven't seen it for sale anywhere. I appreciate y'all inviting me on. It's been fun.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Coach. You have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you next time.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. All right, that is going to do it here for another episode of the Hill Country Nation Sports Wrap-Up. Hey, we got a good tomorrow and Wednesday. I know we got Bernie Geneva's Coach Gaston coming on, and tomorrow's still up in the air, but we'll have it figured out hopefully by the end of the day. We'll be sure about tomorrow afternoon. Anyway, make long story short, too late. Game of the week is going to be the Brentwood Bears at the Bernie Geneva Eagles. First time for everybody for sure on a game of the week. But we want to thank you guys for being our fans, and thank you. And without you guys, we ain't nothing, man. We just have fun anyway. So anyway, make long story short, we're going to say, see you later. I am out of here.